Hari Om, Namaste, Ravi. Right. I think it is time. Let us begin. I request participants, please turn on the video feeds. Hari Om. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddher Bhavatu Me Sada Vasudevam Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagatgurum Krishnam Vande Jagatguru. Hari Om. Yes, so today we continue our Gita session where we are going to do a Chintan and Manan on some of the concepts of the Gita. Rahulji had shared something in the group. I request Rahulji to just touch upon the same thing so we can take it ahead. We are free to discuss any topic that you wish to. Yes, please.
I'm just sitting in the cab. I need 1 minute to just adjust. So, in the meantime, there
Fine.
was one more question. If that can be taken, I'll just settle myself and start.
Okay, fine. So Rahulji will join in a moment or two. Can someone suggest what would you like to look at from the Gita? Anything specific connected to our life, connected to sadhana, connected to the Bhagavad Gita?
Okay, I can go now. Sorry,
Okay,
I can go.
fine.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
basically, there were few questions. One was the practical applications of the three gunas. Actually, there are
Right.
five because there's also Rajo, Sattva, and also the Tama Raja
Ah, you had written
combination.
five gunas. I did not understand that time. So
Yeah,
that
because
was the
that was the nuances are there. And how to
okay.
deal with these kind of energies? What is the best way to deal with these energies? And the
Okay.
nuances, that was one.
Okay.
Which aspects of life do these gunas flow into? We had looked at tapa, dan, yagya, food, something else, and some practical examples. And also, then what does Gita talk about health and fitness? There were some shlokas that I had put in. So
Okay.
that was my question. Yeah.
Fine, sir. Fine. Rahulji has suggested about the gunas and also about the connection with the Sharira and the health. What does the Gita talk about it? Okay, before we go to Rahulji, anything else anybody would like to share or point out that we would like covered today? If not, we continue with the same. All right. So this concept of three gunas, actually, first time we hear the role of a guna is when Arjuna is frustrated with Krishna. Arjuna asks Krishna, "What is this? If everybody has a divine being inside, why is it that man performs sin? If there is divinity, why is there this absolute vulgar distortion of divinity? What is the need for the sin?" And that was where Krishna first time talked about one guna. Time when he said, Kama Esha, Krodha Esha, Rajo Guna Samudbhava. So that was the first introduction. Elsewhere, Krishna said, I created this system of the gunas, like Chaturvarna, even gunas have originated from me. And then he talked about Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva. So one first introduction was Raja Guna leading to Kama and Krodha. And that is one thing we should never forget, no matter how tempting, no matter how powerful Raja Guna seems, because Raja Guna has a force. But that force easily latches onto individual ego and then that turns into Kama and Krodha. Meaning force is required, but how do you use it, isn't it? The force can be used to generate uh, like electricity. We use the forces of so many forces. Solar energy is used, you have wind and all of that. They can be used for something constructive, but when not used properly, they can become destructive also. And first thing we saw is the greatest source of sin is this Rajoguna. Before we move into the three gunas, what are the times we feel we need Rajaguna? Because here Krishna has told it is the source of sin. It is a source of desires. It is a source of anger. Is it any time that we felt that Rajas Guna is required?
It is
Yes,
Yes,
we are
required.
getting both
Hmm.
times.
yes, Rachna ji, and then I'll come to Rahulji. Yes, yes, ji.
When we need to work, that is the time we need Rajas.
Okay. So we need Rajas to work, is what Rachna ji said. Okay, and Rahulji?
Even when we wake up in the morning to get ourselves out of lethargy and do the yoga and the sadhana also takes some rajas at that point in time. To get out of tamas, rajas is very helpful.
Okay, so the impetus of Rajas is helpful for every action. It is like a agni, isn't it? But the aspect of Rajas is also there that suddenly if I get up and I start doing exercise, imagining I am having more flexibility than I have in reality, that same Rajasic action, though it may be a yogasana, but done in a Rajasic manner may lead to some sort of sharirik vedana or maybe strain also. Same thing with the work. The work when we do, I want to do work. So that wanting is very strong. That is only allowing me. If I don't want to do work, I will never do the work. But same want when it gets coupled with the force of rajas, then that leads to a lot of different consequences. Our work gets carried away. We get affected in our mentality and our direction also. So let us just see some shlokas from the Adhyaya 14 where the gunas are talked about. So I think Rahulji gave some classification or sub-classifications of gunas and has classified them into five. If we look at it, the modes are three gunas, is what Krishna says, and then there is this highest state which is said to be gunatita, which is the entire. It is as mysterious as the mystery of the Atman, or it is as mysterious as the mystery of the divine only. What is this exact gunatita state? But when that state is there, that is where you are able to quickly and flexibly move through these gunas. So just we'll look at that without having to go in entire adhyay. We will look at some shlokas and then we will have a discussion. Many times we see, can we not wake up with sattva guna or can we not do good work with sattva guna also? Is it possible?
Mhm. It's very much possible. In fact, it's the real work happens through sattva only. Uh, it's just that some moderation, some rajas is required. Like some moderation, tamas is also required. Little bit. It is required.
Okay.
Otherwise, we can't sleep if there is no tamas. In total sattva, you'll not even feel. When you do
But what
satsang all
about
night,
Nidra Sthiti in Sattva Guna? Adi Shankaracharya has, that will become Yoga Nidra, no?
yeah, yeah,
Isn't it? Nidra Samadhi Sthiti is what Adi Shankaracharya talked about. That when it's conscious awakening and conscious sleeping, when who knows, when you are getting Jagruti, you might actually get the higher Jagruti also. As we go into Nidra, we may go into a Yoga Nidra when done consciously. So, no matter what Krishna has in the hierarchy of the three gunas, Sattva in as the from the human perspective. From the human perspective, Sattva has been elevated to the highest, so much so that all the rishis, all the speakers, and all the good vaktas who are speaking stuti of the divine, they tell everybody, remember, remember, go into Sattva. Because no matter what Rajas will enter, no matter what Tamas will enter, no, it is a part of the three gunas in our life. Whether or not we want it, Rajas will come in, Tamas will come in. But Krishna alone, from his perspective, from the divine perspective, it is Gunatit. But from the human perspective, we must try to keep cultivating the Sattva Guna. Uh, do you agree that no matter how calm we are on the inside, moments come onto our face which suddenly awaken us and make us angry? Don't we get sudden reactions? We might be doing a beautiful japa, and somebody from somewhere would come and quickly say something which is, if not, if we are having very good self-control, our tongue will be in our control, but our eyebrows and forehead expressions immediately change. No matter how much sattva guna is there, rajas enters or not. Do we have this control over rajas and tamas? So one aspect we must be very alert is that unknown to us, these gunas must not function. Because if they function without our knowledge, then we are not in control and then we are going to be carried by what are the forces of nature. We just look at the three gunas once and then we'll just have a discussion because Sri Aurobindo talked about something, these forces of nature. They are there. Even if you see, they are very, very active at all times. Every moment which we are, it is like you need not have somebody in the room also for experiencing the forces of nature. You might be alone and you can still experience what are the forces at play. You can see that, and these forces influence our life experience on every day. The Vedic rishis would reach the highest state of sattva guna and then ask the divine to give them the strength and direction to fight battles and achieve great victories. If you see the various suktas, the first sukta of the Agni Sukta, what is it a Rajasic Sukta or is it a Sukta which is Tamasic, Sattvic, or maybe Gunatita? Just if you look at the first Sukta and then we'll go to the Gita again. Anybody must have read something about the Agni Sukta. Can someone share something about what you know about the Agni Sukta? Anyone? The first Vedic hymn need not be the exact definition. Yes, Rachnaji.
Is it Agni Mele?
Yeah,
That's
exactly. The yes, Agnimye Purohitam Yajnasyam Devaratvajam Hotaram Ratnadhatamam Agni Purve Virshibhiridyo Nutane Ruta Sadevaneha Vakshati Agninam Raimasnavat Poshameva Dive Dive Yashasam Veeravattamam Agni Yajnamadvara Vishwatah Paribhurasi Said Deveshu Gachati. Agni is called the Hotar. Agnir Hotar Kavi Kratuhu. सत्यश्चित्त श्रवस्तम देवो देवे विरागमत् यदङ्गदाशुषे त्वमग्ने त्वं भद्रं करिष्यसि त्वमेतत् सत्यमङ्गिरः उपत्वाग्ने दिवे दिवे दोषावस्तर्धिया वयम् Oh, Bharantam Emasi Rajantam Madhvaranam means the shloka is with such a energy and such a force. But is it Rajasic? It is about the great fire, the fire which is always burning everything, is it? As Krishna says, Jnanagni Dagdha Karmanam Bhasmasat Kurute Arjuna. This Agni of knowledge is so powerful, it will burn everything. It will burn karma bandhanas, it will burn everything into ashes. But the question still remains, is it the force of Rajas in this rishi that is driving them to chant these suktas? Because if you just look at this sukta here, he is invoking the Agni. Agni is the deva who is going to take the prayers of man to God. Agni is called the messenger. Agni is called the hotar. Agni is called the kavi. He is called the doer also. And the rishi is asking for you know energy and strength, force for doing things. So, can we not just analyze this particular aspect in light of the gunas? The first sukta of the Veda, it is sounds like a very powerful sukta. It is a very, if the meaning wise, it is continuously about give me more strength. Agni is the grantor of the powers of the hero powers, which makes a person grow. Poshameva dive dive. It keeps growing every day, like an akshaya wealth which is not stopping. Now, isn't that a desire? Krishna has told, Kamesha, Krodhesha, Rajoguna Samudbhava. So, what is the meaning of this? Anybody? All Vedic devatas were invoked, isn't it? With a fire, with a force only. And most of the devatas, some of them were forces which were having like kind of a titan strength, a Suri might also. Varuna and Maruts and yes, please, Rachnaji. Yes, please.
the that is not a desire.
It is not a desire. But it is a force. Is it sattvic or is a sukta sattvic or is it rajasic or is it
It is
tamasic?
it is sattvic.
Okay, it can be sattvic or maybe slightly gunatit also, isn't it? But if you look at it from a perspective where we looked at only the fire, yes, we feel yes, it might be rajasic because you see he's involving. Somebody told me after reading a little bit of the guna, he thought that person was very confident that all the rishis were wrong. After studying little bit of the gunas, he said, no, no, I don't like the chamakam at all. It is a very greedy prayer. Uh, Anybody has heard of this Chamakam, which is generally chanted along with the Sri Rudram? Yes, anyone? Rahulji, if you would like to share something about it?
No, nothing to share. Yes, I've been hearing it every Monday. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, sir. But is it greedy, sir?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Means if you see,
No,
Rachna ji, yeah.
it is not greedy. That is
Mm.
actually everything material is
Yeah.
the Devi.
It
She
is
is
for the,
everything. So
yes, she's a
if
giver,
you, yes,
or Rudra is the giver.
she
Hmm.
is the materiality. So nothing wrong in materiality. It's seeking, listening to Rudram and asking for those things. It's bhoga and moksha.
Okay, ji. But question is, how much will we ask? No? I want blessings. I want, I want strength. I want wealth. I want this. I want that. And it's like children go to parents and, beta, what do you want? Child will say, ah, Papa, I want some
But
fruits
what about
and
Lakshmi
chocolate
and
and
Saraswati?
yeah.
And it is, it is the, it's probably what you said, that Gunatita
Hmm.
in that measure. Like even
Yeah.
if you have Lakshmi, you can use that in a way that is not appropriate. You can
Yeah.
also use that in a way which is appropriate, which is
Yes.
good for the entire world. You needn't
Ji,
use it
ji.
for your own um, things, like buying this or
Hmm.
just doing what only you want to do.
Okay.
Whereas when it
Fine. Right.
flows through you, and
Huh.
it nourishes everything around you, then that is Lakshmi.
Okay.
So
All right.
nothing wrong in having Lakshmi, as long as you know what you are doing with it, and it should be a conscious.
The consciousness is important.
Yes,
Not, it
it's
does not matter
important
you
to
ask.
be aware of what it is,
Okay.
what the
Fine.
purpose for it. What is the purpose for it? Why are you
Okay.
asking
Okay.
for it?
Okay. All right. Rashani, Dr. Taniji is asking something. Yes, please. Or sharing something.
Yeah, on I think Rashmi ji covered it. So I want that is okay, but for what? I think
Huh.
that is important. What is the intent or the purpose behind
So,
wanting
so
something?
the giver is important or the receiver is important?
The intent is important.
Intent is
Means,
important. Yes, intent may be a good intent, but many times we do a lot of good intention things in a rajasic manner and then they get spoiled, isn't it?
hmm, yeah.
The intervention of the human is the Ramji wants to add something? Is it? No. All right. So the intention is good. We can always have good intentions, but when the intentions are coupled again with the human levels forces, let us, if you look at the three gunas, operation of three gunas is always on a lower level. Only when it is coming from the higher level. What is the Gunatita state? Can we say the operator is the divine and we become just the mediums? And that time there is no need to even intervene when the flow is there, when divine is going to give. How many hands does the divine has? Divine has the Ananta Hasta. The Ananta Hasta will give as much as the divine wants. The question is, how much will the receiver receive, and how much will the receiver take from that? Means that is the simplest thing. There was a very beautiful story I had learned growing up that the one bhakta had prayed to God that he was suffering from poverty for so long. He said, prayed, I want strength, I want wealth. And in the One sage just said, here, go to this particular place, you will get the darshana and you ask whatever you want. But remember one thing, whatever you get, that wealth, don't just put it on the ground and try to count it or something. Just take it in this bag that I'm giving you, and until you go home, don't take it, don't spill it, don't leave it. That is all he said. This this great fellow is so happy. Wow, after so many years, my poverty is completely destroyed. Now let me receive. So he goes, he chants that mantra that he has received to get the blessing, and God gives. The problem is this person does not know how much to stop. His sack is full. He wants some more, some more, some more, some more, some more. And you know what happens ultimately? That sack bursts and all the wealth is down on the floor and he has lost everything because he did not know how much he has to, what is the capacity of reception. Because there came the Rajasic greed. Maybe there was some Sattva Bhava inside of him that allowed him to first connect with the Rishi, get the mantra, get the direction of life and a movement for moving ahead. But here came that was, can we not say that if you look at from a higher level, it is the divine cosmic force only which is at play, working and giving opportunities for us to rise. But in those moments of rising, also when the intervention of the human enters, the Rajasic interventions or Tamasic interventions, sometimes even Sattvic interventions are a problem. I want God to do this. Until God does it, I will not do it. This fellow is not looking like God, or this force is not God's force, so I will not accept it. We turn away God's force because we have certain limited understanding. So, in a way, we can just see the three gunas are all fine. They are operating no matter what we do. But when we intervene, it becomes the problem. Rahulji is sharing something. Yes, sir.
No, then I'm still with that question कि रुद्रम में जब
Ha,
मांगते
okay,
हैं,
we'll come to the
so
Rudram part.
yeah,
Yes, yes.
what
Yes,
to
if you
ask
see,
and how to ask and is
ha,
it
the
good to
bhava
ask,
of
etc.
giving. Yes,
For
yes. With
example,
this,
you know,
we'll,
it's like
yes,
it's
sir.
also like whom will you ask? You'll ask your mother and father.
Yeah,
Divine is your mother and father. So अगर मन में इच्छा उठती है, इच्छा also happens just spontaneously. You don't have
yes,
to think, it just comes sometimes. So when it
yes.
comes, you can ask and say, okay, if this is good for me, you give it. Otherwise, something better if you have in store, give me something better.
And
You know,
if the parent does not want to give something, what would we
then
do?
that's
Then
also okay. That's
that is
also
also
fine.
okay is important, isn't it? That
Correct.
part is lost and that becomes an entire source of trouble.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if we just see, like the same another story, very similar to the same story of a, just sometimes it's very nice. These Panchatantra tales and different tales give us great, full stories. They give us nice principles. Another story of a poor man who was lived his life completely in absolute poverty. Again, Rishi comes to him and he does his work. Not only does he give the bhiksha, he also gives whatever little food he has, he gives a portion to the Rishi, and the Rishi is very pleased. So the Rishi gives him a blessing. He says, there is a treasure which will remove what we can say, all your sufferings. Go and collect it. It is under this tree in this particular place, just a few kilometers from where you stay. So this uh, person saying, should I go or should I not? The wife tells, no, we need it. Why don't you go? But again, the Rishi also has given a rider. Everywhere, everybody gives some riders only. So the Rishi says, don't open the treasure until you come. And this first person says, okay. And he brings it. Somehow he opens the treasure. And suddenly, the Rishi's voice only comes. Now you have opened the treasure. Now you are going to be cursed. If you spend any rupee of this treasure for yourself, you will die. Now, what to do? He is in poverty and having a treasure which he cannot use. And this is the state of his mind. He feels so sad. He sheds his tears. His wife also feels very sad. What is this bad fate on us? And life goes on as usual. And then suddenly he says, it's all right. Anyway, if I have to die, let me die. At least before I die, let me just use this treasure for something. See, then he built some home for travelers where people can come and take rest. And he expects while doing that he is going to die. But to his surprise, he is not yet dead, and that home is built. And he says, "Okay, let me do one more deed till that deed is complete. I may die next time." He keeps doing different things, and slowly he becomes one of the most influential people in that entire community and in that kingdom. And he is very sure that the words of the rishi are true, but he's still surprised why he is not dying. And some in a year goes. And then the rishi comes to him once, and he again welcomes him. He said, "You gave this treasure, you gave this blessing. Look, so many people have got benefited. But I still don't understand, why did you tell me I will die if I use this?" The rishi says, "It is still true. I had said you will die if you use it for yourself. But since you have not used it for yourself, this treasure is absolutely sacred because it is going on to lead to betterment of the world. Absolute Lokasangra is taking place where there's no ownership at all, isn't it? So the ownership of the force that comes from the divine, Rajas makes us think we are the owner, we are the right recipient, and then the Dadagiri and Ahankar comes from the grama or to the biggest state. Wherever you see power comes and politician who comes, every politician before the vote, what does the politician say? Give me strength, give me power, give me force. I will be the most humble person who will work for you. Everyone, isn't it? Just recently, a politician in our locality got elected. His face was everywhere. And he said, "You remember, my father has done this good work. You give me one chance, just one chance. I will do the work just as good as he is or better. And afterwards, we'll see." No, but I hope this politician makes a difference because he has been elected with the faith of people. But the force, if you see, the force of the divine is to be utilized by the divine. We must not be anything more than real nimittas, as Krishna has told. Then only the all these gunas will be decided. The remote of the gunas will lie in the divine's hands. And we will not have our personal preferences and choices. That is why Chamakam, as Rahulji just asked, how is it? It is a most beautiful prayer. The same prayer can become tamasic when when I don't couple with any action and I just keep chanting with one distorted tamasic shraddha. That just chanting alone will give me blessing from Rudra. I will not do any of my activities. I'm not saying that chanting does not have power. The way it is said is important, isn't it? The psychology. If there is, I'm resorting to chanting to move away from duties. See, even if the person may be a pujari and wants kalyan of that devale, the bhava should not be mechanical and swarthi for only receiving. Let him do that every day with full shraddha, but let the bhava be there as a conscious offering. May the divine give, and that person continues the states and all every activity of the day. Then it would be beautiful. Otherwise, you see, so it's so nice if you see the Chamakam is asking so many things. Shanchame, Mayaschame, Priyanchame, Nu Kamaschame, Kamaschame, Somarashachame, Bhadramchame, Shreyashchame, Yashashchame, Bhagashchame, Dravinanchame, Sushachame, Sudinanchame. Yaar, give me good day, yaar. You're asking Rudra. Later, Sudinam also, give me a good day. I want a happy day today. I mean, what is so wrong in asking that also? It's not. But it is up to us to recognize that whatever is coming from the divine, the source, if we say even, we say Gangotri is the source of all the purity. But then, does the beautiful river alone mean that you can just do anything wrong and it'll get purified by putting a few drops of the Ganga? It does get polluted, isn't it? By man's deeds. And then what do? We have to filter it, we have to purify it. Sometimes even the sacred Ganga cannot be drank just like it is, isn't it? Maybe at this Ugam Sthan you can take it. But afterwards, you have to filter it and take it because so many sanskars are created. So, like that, the human intervention comes in all these three forces. We could talk about Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva, and that is the intervention, which is the human intervention, which spoils it. And for that, we have to rise beyond it. So, if we just see the Gunatita Sthiti is what Krishna talks about, we just look at those shlokas because that is what we are interested in. If you see elsewhere in the Gita, Krishna talks about becoming nimitta matra and raining arrows, no, in a battlefield. He says, Arjuna, you are my arrow. Okay, I think can you revise key shlokas of Guna as Rahulji has written? All right, let us just see. We'll go to the chapter in short. Hmm. One thing we see is all three gunas are inside of us. According to our swabhava, no? The gunas will, it's like we say the shape of the vessel. The same water will go in every vessel, but it will take the shape of the vessel which it is having. Like that, we all have a particular swabhava. We are all a different shaped vessel. Whatever our swabhava is, that way the movement is. That movement would be the of the forces. It would be the combination of rajas, tamas, and sattva. We have to become. First thing is becoming conscious. But let us see here. We look at shlokas number 6, 7, 8. Or no, that is just the introduction of the three gunas. We look at shlokas number 10, 11, and 10 to 13. That would be more interesting.
This is chapter
Uh, uh,
14.
14, yes, sir. Adhyay 14. I'm sorry, I didn't say the Adhyay. 14th Adhyay, shlokas 10 to 14. We just look at them. रजस्तमश्च विभूय सत्वं भवति भारत रजः सत्वं तमश्चैव तमः सत्वं रजस्तथा. Our Krishna says, "O Arjuna, when the sattva qualities of nature lead overpowered, the rajas and tamas components recede. Rajas rises when sattva and tamas are suppressed, and tamas grows when rajas and sattva are depressed." If you look at it, all three gunas are always there inside, but one guna takes the lead. So, when sattva nature is cultivated inside of us, we get such a great tapobala inside of us that with that tapobala, even rajasic force does not have the strength to rise. Neither does tamas. All three tamas, I mean, on the tamas and the rajas components are immediately pushed by the rising tapobala of the sattva in the individual as the sattvic nature rises. But we look at Rajasic aspect. When Rajasic force, it's a crude force, it's a crude, rough force. That force quickly suppresses both Sattva and Tamas when Rajasic factors increase inside of us. Meaning, even Sattvic nature may be present inherently inside of us, but this brute force of Rajas is going to quickly crush the Sattvic nature and the Tamasic nature of the individual. That is what happens to many. If you see some cases of where psychiatric issues come into people where they are not having control over their anger, they are not having any control over their what we can say thinking or aggression. All of that suddenly they are not. Means they might have good nature, but that good nature is completely suppressed by the force of rajas inside of them. Then they have to work on it because that force is. It does not matter, the Rajas force is going to overpower whatever sattva and whatever the nature of sattva may be there, and tamas is not going to get a chance at all in that force. Same with the tamas. Tamas will grow when both sattvic and rajasic qualities are depressed, meaning tamas does not have the direct force to suppress both rajas and tamas. Force is the domain of rajas. Tamas can take over only when Rajas and Sattva both get depressed. Like in our life, something happens. Something happens which shakes us completely. Sattva nature is suddenly pushed aside by our Sabhava as a reaction to that. And Rajas fire is only lost completely. Then Tamas enters, and that is why the Tamasic guna has a very strong cloud, a cloud and clout also, which is very difficult to remove. It's like Rajasic force can get crushed. Like best, one person may say in the Akhada, I am सबसे best wrestler, and he'll be beating all the wrestlers. But a bigger wrestler will come in and do a dhobi pachad, and then the Rajasic wrestler also has to accept and acknowledge the truth, isn't it? He's been overpowered because Rajas components will sometime or the later have their lower force of coming. But Tamas is the one. Tamas is the one who is going to tell the wrestler. what is the point of wrestling only? Wrestling itself is such a crude methodology of trying to establish supremacy, and he'll sit and collect all the wrestlers and take all the wrestlers away from the entire concept of wrestling. But the origin will not be a divine origin. It would be something where personal depression, personal sorrow, personal reactions, that is where the tamas would come. So, tamas does not on its own require so much power, but once tamas enters, it is very difficult to remove. It is very difficult to remove it unless it is said unless there is an intervention of a completely supreme divine force or the guru. The tamasic guna cannot be removed so easily. It is that dense darkness. So that these are the three components. This is the possibilities when which goes ahead. Just look at the next shloka on the 11th one, where Krishna talks about the benefits of what Sattva Guna is. सर्वद्वारेषु देहेऽस्मिन् प्रकाश उपजायते ज्ञानं यदा तदा विद्यात् विवृद्धं सत्त्वमित्युत. When the light barges open all the doors of the being, its luminous knowledge brings forth the awakening. Know that whenever there is such an activation, the quality of sattva is leading in domination. So, Krishna, if you see, has not talked about the chakras and awakening of the chakras in the entire Gita. It is something which is very interesting. We don't see much of the definitions of Tantra or anything else being described. But here we just see very clearly that when your Sattva Guna has reached, when it rises, there is an activation in that being. It's as if suddenly all doors are opening. If you just see in a dark room with no light, you open one door, you open one window, and another opening. What happens from outside? All the light floods in. That is something which takes place inside of the Sharira also. Our home is like a temple of 9 gates, isn't it? Those 9 gates are closed. So there is no light from outside also coming in. The light of the Surya, the light of the divine truth, of illumination, that is not entering only. But when with Sattva Guna you are awakened, then it's like the light is going to suddenly flood inside from all directions. That is why these Rishis says, no, ano bhadraha kritavantu, from all, let me think all auspicious thoughts. Bhadram karne bhi shrunyam deva, bhadram paschimakshatirjatraha, stirai rangai sushtavan swastanubhi, vyashema deva hitam yadayu, for the benefit of the devas is why I am living for the benefit of the devas. Let me receive that strength. Let me see auspicious thing. Let me hear auspicious things. Let it come from all directions. Because that is where the entire activation of the being takes place. So again, activation takes place on what? On the individual self, isn't it? The abilities, the you just can someone just tell what could be the possible activations that can take place inside of a human when we come, gather our consciousness? What kind of activation? What can it be that Krishna is referring to here?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
What are the activations that we can probably experience in a lifetime? Krishna says, you cultivate, you get that an activation takes place in the nature of sattva. If the luminous knowledge brings forth an awakening, and understand whenever there is this awakening, whenever there is such an activation, sattva is the leading guna inside that
There,
individual.
there is heightened awareness.
Okay, sir.
There is more purity of thought. There
Hmm.
is, yeah, there is more pragya. There is more awakened
Pragya.
intellect. Yeah,
In and now this is very interesting because I think Rahulji even talked about Sharira aspect. So this awakened prajna and how does that have, what effect does it have on the Sharira? Even that mantra, you see, Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunyam Deva, there is also Sthirai Rangair Sushtavan Swastanabhi, with strong, firm bodies. Means the recipient of that, the vessel of that light is also firm and strong. But what can be done with this activation, or what are the possibilities that we can see with this activation? Anybody?
The body is the instrument.
Yes, okay.
So
It is the instrument.
whatever gunas are being used, they
Hmm.
will be used in the best possible way if the body is
Yeah.
free from afflictions and in
Specifically,
a
yes.
strong vital
Specifically
state.
in this sattva. Specifically, we talk about the sattva guna and activation of sattva guna relating to changes in body and mind. What do you think could be the heightened sattva? It has been like, as in the Buddhist concept, accumulation of virtue. You keep accumulating till one point is reached where then there is an overflow so much that it will now lead to what we say, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. It will lead to betterment, Loka Kalyan only. So that is the stage when a threshold is reached. So here also Sattva Guna is rising, and a threshold is reached, and then an activation takes place when that is crossed. So what is it, and how does it affect mind and body? Or what can we think of? What are the possible activations, or what are the possible consequences of this? In our day-to-day life also, you can just think of how will it be any one moment that we do, and the consequence of an awake, as Rahulji just shared, as Sir said, prajna gets awakened of the individual. How will it matter, or what does it matter in everyday life, or how will our ordinary moment be with that heightened prajna? Will we cease to do everything?
There'll be
Yes,
more
Rahulji.
joy. There'll be more joy. There'll be more lightness. Work will
Yes.
happen as an expression of joy, not to gain
Uh-huh.
joy. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So
Isn't it? Work will.
like true
Yes, sir.
seva,
Mm.
true
Ah.
seva is work becomes an expression of joy, not like to
Yes.
seek anything. Yeah.
Yes, yes, an expression of joy or an expression of love only. The every action becomes that. It is like we talk Sarvam Brahmamayam Jagat Sarvam Premamayam Jagat becomes one, and that is a divine love. Divine love is moving in our actions. Anjali ji is sharing something. Yes, please.
No, I just wanted to say it gives you more clarity on things, helps you to
Yes,
learn things faster. You
yeah,
understand
yes,
things better on a practical note.
yes, yes. And it is important to get into that state because that is the best state a man can reach. Because of our limitations of the human nature, if you look at among the three gunas, though third one or the sattva guna, which is the highest, also has its limitation, it is still the best. And when we bring that, our actions are completely awakened. We might scold somebody also, but we'll be scolding out of a love and duty, not by rajasic force. It makes a lot of difference when because we have duty. Sometimes as parents, we have duties to raise children, but we don't realize that in that authority of parenthood, by being a parent, we sometimes unknowingly do certain things. Not everybody does it consciously, but there the force of rajas comes in and leaves sanskars, isn't it? It leaves sanskars which are sometimes so embedded that it takes years and years to come out of. We don't realize what happens. But so that is why it is to be ensured that when it is truly with a conscious state, then it would be different. The yogis, well, they receive, why do they continue even after cultivating so much sattva guna inside of them? They still try to keep raising their consciousness and they get certain siddhis also, certain activations, they get certain understandings because in Rajasic manner, we take certain decisions in our life and then we move forward, isn't it? Because we feel this is right. I need to do it. It must be done. And after taking the decision, then we feel like retracing our steps or we get confused later on because that force which was pushing me at that particular moment, now that force is gone. That force is not there anymore. Yes,
But
sir.
but why Bhagwan makes Rajas such a negative thing? Because even in
Hmm.
the so many organizations, even spiritual organizations,
Yes.
sometimes that little Rajas is required to make a temple get built. So many things are
Yeah.
required. Pure
Yeah.
sattva, matlab, if I may use a little extreme word, थोड़ा
Hmm.
निठल्ला वाला चीज है. You are
Hmm.
sitting and you're not like,
No,
you
that
know.
is not, that is a limitation of sattva. Means I'm saying these three gunas are limited, no? So, because one is wrong, does not make the other right. We'll have to move to,
Mhm.
instead of, that was a descent to move from sattva to rajas. The
Ah,
next ascent from sattva guna, when we realize that, chalo, sattva guna is good, it is going to give me clairvoyance, everything. But what is the use of getting all the clairvoyance and just sitting like Rishi is saying, now Bharat is going to get invaded,
hmm.
Britishers are going to
Correct,
enter, and this
correct.
person is going to say, yes, God will have to take care of it, not my job. Now, what is
Hmm.
that? That is probably a mixture of tamas coming in, isn't it?
Correct.
So there is this, that is why all three are inside. But there the person would have to rise to a next level of Gunatit and probably go into Parashurama's consciousness, isn't it? Agratas Chaturu Veda Prushrata Sarasan Dhanu Idam Brahmam Idam Kshatram Shapadi Visharadapi. He says, I'll get up now. Who dares comes in the way of the divine? Nobody will come and defile this sacred place. So that time the force is required. But like Rahulji said, sometimes organizations need support. They need strength. But imagine, sir, if an organization, for the sake of donation, allows the donor to have a say in the organization's principles or organization's direction. They'll say, "Arey, I didn't material wealth to move ahead." But now the donor is giving, but donor is not giving a sattvic dana. The dana is a rajasic exchange for power. I give wealth in return for something power. And then does not the donor start influencing? Then the board of trustees sit and, yes, this is not correct, but I think we can defer this decision to the next board meeting. That is the sattvic problem, but here the compromise has taken place, isn't it, sir?
Correct, correct, correct.
If you are Gunatit, that's one very interesting thing because there it should, that time it is a different story. That time it will be like you will become the Ganga only and everything will get merged and purified and except there. But otherwise, we compromise when we try to say we need only these forces only can work. No, these forces alone cannot work. Sri Aurobindo had beautifully said, Asurasya Udyamam Shakti Dehi. Give me the strength, the Udyama Shakti of the Asura. We need that, isn't it? But I cannot
Wow.
compromise with the gunas of the Deva. No? So
Yeah.
Sattva Guna has to be there, and that is where we'll just look at a few more shlokas about the other two gunas and then see that Gunatita. That would be more interesting in that light. Just let us see. Rajas Guna, what happens when Rajas rises? In the shloka number 12, Krishna says, Lobha pravritirarambha karmana mashama spruha rajasyetane jayante vivruddhe bharatarshabha. When the rajas quality is in an increasing state, O Arjuna, the following tendencies begin to escalate: greed and a restless desire to initiate action, and the being seeks fruits with an impulsive passion. So when the rajas rises, these are actually why Krishna has given these are like litmus tests for us. Just see what is happening. If you are getting an Atmananda by doing certain activities, whatever activity, it might be cooking somebody also. If you're not doing it in return for a praise, also, you're just doing it because it's a duty and you're finding it's an act of love, it's an expression of love. This beautiful aspect of Gita is Krishna gives a shortcut for everything and cheat code for everything in the sansara. It is a love for the divine. When the love is there, all is fine for Krishna. Even you don't have to do certain elaborate things also. He says, okay, fine. It may be little tamasic aspect inside of the individual, but love will make that person rise out of the tamas also. He says first says patram pushpam phalam toyam, isn't it? A single offering is enough. But then will the bhakta who loves Krishna get satisfied with a single offering? No. It will rise, the bhakti will rise and take a person ahead. So, like that, when the sattva guna rises, certain aspects take place. The person becomes, first thing is the nature of the sattva will remain. But along with that, certain, as Krishna says, isn't it? Dadami buddhi yogam tam. I'll give you the knowledge, I'll give you the wisdom, I'll give you the strength. All will be given. If Agni Sapta also talks about Agni as the giver of the hero's powers, God is there to grant. It is us who have to learn the way to receive it. It is around us. The blessing is there continuously. We just have to be in that state of reception. Anywhere we are, any time, any part of the world, it does not matter. We don't have to be closely associated or closely linked immediately. Like sometimes people feel that because there is an aura in the, Shraddha sthanas and different places, temples also. And yet there are people who are living right into the premises also and yet not receiving the light and knowledge because of the personal, nature, which is sometimes turning away the grace also which is flowing towards them. That is the danger of Rajas. Let us see the litmus test of Rajas. When is Rajas rising? These are the things that take place, Krishna says. When Rajas quality is in an increasing state, the following tendencies begin to escalate. Greed. Can we have greed for the divine's work? Yes. Anybody? Greed for the divine. God's work has to go ahead. So I'm going to do everything to push it ahead.
Yeah, greed for God's work, greed for satsang, these are good greeds to have.
Sir Rahulji, but there is
I
one greed
think,
is greed only, no, sir?
yes. I mean, that means you're attached to something.
Yes,
So
yes,
if
sir.
you allow the will to flow, there will not be any attachment. You'll just wait
Allow,
and
sorry, allow the
you will allow the will to flow
will.
through you,
Okay,
and whatever
the
is there in
divine will.
front of you, you will do it. But
Yes,
you
yes,
will not hanker after more and more and more. Uh,
yes, yes.
yes, if it is there, you will do it, but you should not hanker. Or
But the individual will should sublimate to a divine will. Then it is all fine. Otherwise, the individual will means Rajas is the individual willpower and force. Because what happens is then individual will tries to interfere and intervene into the workings of the divine will also. That is what happens in individual greed. Means even God's work, do I have the authority to direct God's work? Because I want God's work to move ahead. So will I direct it? Or will I still be the intermediary? Yes, Tanviji, Dr.
No,
Tanviji.
we
Ah,
cannot direct it. We have to be the intermediary, the instrument to take it forward.
yeah, yes, yes,
He
yes.
will
We
guide
know
it.
Bhagavad Gita is good, but can we go and use all the Rajasic force and forcibly introduce it in some places in a particular manner?
No,
It will not work. These are Krishna says Nada Paskaya na Shraddha without Shraddha, without that the knowledge will not go. Though we will say मैं तो भगवान how many people say ये भगवान का काम कर रहे हैं तो भगवान क्या वेकेशन पे है what is God doing then the work of the divine is being done by the divine through their individual but the individual takes control and precedence so it is nice to aspire but when the aspiration is should not be coupled with greed is one what we can say human distortion of the good fire inside of the individual but rajas is there it's getting directed greed and restless desire to initiate action मैं कुछ नहीं कर रहा हूँ, I'm not doing anything. Something needs to be done. No, no, this is some people, this is Guru's project. Guru's project has to go like this, like that. And Guru's project will be driven by the force of the Guru, the sattva of the Guru, the direction of the Guru, not the force of the Shishyas. Because slowly the Shishyas also start manipulating or even possessing the Guru also. That becomes a problem, isn't it? It happens in so many organizations where the Karyakartas suddenly think they are greater. They are greater than the Ogam only. They are greater than because their understanding is greater. Their restlessness. I have to do it. I have to do it. Sometimes it is good. Sometimes it is all right. Some ice has to be broken. Sometimes some boulders have to be broken by raw sheer force. That is good. But that should not be the only way of functioning. There is a need to rise beyond it because when Rajas goes on, it's not just greed and restlessness. Continuously, action must be done and then the being also, because of this restlessness, there's no chance of sarma, karma, phala, tyaga. There is only asha for phala, one after the other. Being six fruits with an impulsive passion, impulsively. Now we are outsourcing the fruits. One elder had once told me very strongly, what is there in the Gita? You tell me. I said, sir, I don't know what is there in the Gita because he wanted to tell me. I said, please tell me. Has Krishna said not to get fruits of action? As Krishna told not to aspire for fruits of action, I said, I think there is a shloka which is you should not look after the fruit. He said, no, no, what has Krishna said? Krishna has said, Karmanyeva adhikaraste mam phaleshu kadachana. What is the meaning of it? And this was a father figure, so I could not really counter it to listen. So he says, Krishna says, take the fruits. For others' sake, you should take the fruits. That was the interpretation of the shloka. Can that be the right interpretation of the shloka of Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana? Anybody?
No,
Yes. No, Anjali ji, why is
certainly
it?
not.
Why is that? Because this individual is very confident. See, and he explained logically, only when you take for others' sake, otherwise you will not feel like taking fruits, but you should take for others' sake. Then only you will be able to share with others. If you don't have fruits, how will you share is what that person shared. So, Anjali ji, what would you say of this?
I don't know how to refute that statement.
Okay,
But
all right. Okay, fine. So, but you still feel it's Krishna has not told that, isn't it? Not for you can't outsource your desire, not for you, for others people I'm desire, for
I,
others I'm desiring. It is something like that, no outsourcing.
it's because it seems
I
like
What?
yeah,
it seems like you are twisting that statement for your own
for
benefit
your
or
own
for your own
benefit.
personal
Very true,
gain.
very true. Yes, yes. It is a twist. It is a twist for the own benefit. And then all the fruits when they come to me, how much will I share with everybody? Share according to my nature, isn't it? And for that, we are trying to. So, this is the Rajasic aspect, Rajasic twist given to the same individual who said that I don't think that individual is very willing to let go of the fruits and control of whatever the person has. So, this aspect of Rajas is what makes a person even twist the force of the divine to personal objectives. So, that is Rajasic aspect. But what about Tamas? Well, Tamas is where Krishna says it is the darkest. Aprakasho pravritischa pramado moha evacha tamasya tani jayante vivruddhe gurunandana. Darkness, delusion, and an ignorant negligence, and a futile indulgence in actions of importance. O Arjuna, whenever tamas is on the rise, all these nature's deformities in that being arise. So the deformities of nature become you can manifold and manifested abundantly in a tamasic individual. Darkness, delusion, ignorant negligence, futile indulgence in actions of importance. Actions are done which are of no use. This is what happens when tamas is on the rise. All deformities in that being come increased. So we see Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva. These are the indicators of what happens. Now comes to the last part of our session is about if we understood this. Now comes the question of Gunatita. How do we look at it? Anybody? What is Gunatita and how can I think of it as a sadhak or a follower of Krishna or somebody who tries to understand the Gita? How would you tell me? How do I deal with Gunatita? Intellectually, maybe we may not be able to fully understand, but maybe some way we can move ahead or some kind of from our experience. Yes, please.
Nirmama, Nirankara, I think that is the shift from sattva that happens. Then
Ji,
you
sir.
can go into the gunatita, I think.
Wow. Beautiful, Rahulji has said. Nirmamo, Nirankara, Samadukha. Samatvam comes in naturally. We become nirmal in our minds, and the ahankar is completely lost. And when the ahankar is lost, what is the preference that we have? Personal preference is lost, and truly that is when the remote is in God's hand, and we become what we can say God's instrument and God's puppet. Isn't it wonderful if we become a puppet of the God, of the divine? Anybody, what is the individuality of the puppet?
Nothing.
Nothing,
He,
isn't it?
yeah.
The puppet is by the strings, no, pulled by the strings. and no
Yes.
individuality. And so it is like the this right hand up, right hand up, next left, left. It is the divine who is the Sutradhara who is holding all the strings and he decides. So if we really become free, because imagine a puppet having individuality. What happens if a puppet has an individuality of his or her own?
He'll move in a different direction,
Okay,
He will
Anjali
not
ji says
not
respond to the
being
strings.
controlled by them.
he will not
Yeah.
respond to the strings. If the puppet
The,
has great Rajasic force, how will the
the
puppet
string,
function?
the strings can snap.
Okay, so whoa, that's dangerous, isn't it? The strings can snap, so the connection can break completely. Or ultimately, we know, isn't it? The Sutradhara is so powerful that his will ultimately manifest, whether you like it or you don't like it. So, what will the puppet do? Maybe the puppet will do a very ugly dance. The hand, instead of moving very freely and smoothly according to the Sutradhara's movements, it would move with a lot of resistance. But that is also about sadhana also. We have to recognize only way we can truly become puppets of the divine is first by becoming by surrendering, isn't it? And then we can experience what we call the flow state, the joy of performance, because this is not an individual who is holding the strings of our life. Without knowing, many times individuals hold strings of our life, and then that creates so many troubles by our attachments. These are the what we can say, they are called pasha only. And there's not one or two pasha on every individual. Somebody may say, I have no attachment. That may be a sattvic ideal, but in practical, there are so many attachments. I've seen every time I've heard somebody tell me I don't have any attachment, I have seen so many attachments. It is just a projection of the mental ideal that is being done, but not in practicality. Krishna also says, Asha Pasha Shatair Baddha. That is the mohajala of these ashas and desires. So when we give those desires away, when the Sutradhar is beautifully free to control and move us according to his vision, and we as individuals have full Shraddha, and it is out of love. It is not a tug of war or fight that we are fighting. We are just trying to withdraw our lower natures to experience a heightened consciousness, an experience of it is a very different thing. A puppet of somebody, and that is absolutely a low thing, isn't it, for an individual? If you become a puppet of the lower forces or some individual in a relationship, if you are allowing somebody else to have the strings over you and move you, then that is not love also. It is only manipulation and it is a disrespect to the individual's swadharma also completely. But surrendering to the divine is upholding Swadharma. Your, as we say, Krishna Dharma. You surrender to Krishna, surrender to that, and watch what Krishna will do. Today, he will make you sing the most beautiful classical music. Next day, he will make you perform some heavy metal rock also. You are not having personal preference. You'll say, all right, what is this? You might only laugh and, acha, theek hai, today one more interesting experience. One more robe I am going to wear. Well, we are wearing robes again and again, birth after birth. Krishna has told that we will go through different changes, but the puppeteer is doing something. Let's have trust and faith in his movement and try to experience the joy. And then there is the bliss of Gunatita, because the simplest thing Krishna says for becoming Gunatita is not having aversion to something and not having attachment also for anything. Neither aversion or distract. You're going to move like an automatic transmission, quickly moving from gears, no? He may shift you from one gear to other gear. You are ready to move. You are allowing the flow to take place, and that is the Gunatita. Gunatita problem also, we don't need to try to get that universal remote or power to get into Gunatita. Leave that in the God's hands. We try to keep cultivating in the Sattva Guna in such a way, bereft of the limitations of Sattva Guna through our surrender, then we will see. The best example for a Gunatit is, we can say, our Anjaneya only, legendary, or we look at some of the great Bhaktas. What did they do? They surrendered to the divine. They became the Dasas. And through their surrender, they became Gunatit. So that is why Sri Aurobindo says better servant of God is good, slave is better. Become the slave of the divine and then watch it. Our Hanuman is the most powerful example of someone who surrendered his end. What was the personal ambition of Hanuman? Personal career goals, career objectives. Where do you see yourself, Hanuman, after 50 years of service or 20 years of service as CEOs of organizations ask prospective employees, isn't it? So, what would Hanuman's answer be to such a question? Where do you see yourself 5 years down the line? Where do you see yourself 10 years down the line? What
In
would, yes,
service, in
in
service of
service?
Sri Ram. Yeah.
Yes, and he said, I will serve so much that Sri Ram will not want to take me out of his service. He'll make me Chiranjeev. He might himself say, my work is over, I'm going. But your service is not going. It's going to get extension beyond retirement age also. No retirement age at all, isn't it? So that is probably why all these rishis focused on the surrender as an important aspect. Surrender of desires, surrender of personal ambitions towards the divine, but not to an individual. So, probably, I think if we want to look at it, we could not cover on the Sharira aspect. We will try to do it next Saturday. But as far as the gunas, yes, we need different forces. We need all these are understood. We need to know all of them. We need to not be oblivious. But our aspiration is let's keep cultivating enough sattva guna that we somehow, without our knowledge, enter into a state that we are not going to be bound even by the sattva guna. We would become beautiful puppets of the divine to bring about great transformations. For what? God knows for what. Let Him know. We don't need to even worry about what is the reason. We just need to enjoy the performance which will take place through us. Best actors, best artists say, I didn't do anything. It happened through me. So we'll try to reach that. That is what would be the ideal, is what we can think of. Yes, sir. Rahulji is adding something. Yes, sir.
No, today's session beautiful. Just one thing. Can you
Yes, sir.
let us know which shlokas so that we can revise after this session
Which we
the
covered today,
aspects
sir.
on, yeah, the ones which we covered, and all on three gunas, which are the key chapters and the key shlokas to revise.
Sir, actually, if you see, 14th Adhyay entirely talks about the gunas, and 14th Adhyay, even in the last part, Krishna says how to become Gunatit. He just says love is the simplest way. 26 shloka, which I'll just look at that one shloka. This is the most important one if we see. See, here he says in the 26th shloka, Mam cha vyo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. He who loves and yearns for me with his heart, he whose devotion for me has no end or start, nature's triple modes he can easily breach. The supreme state he is ready to reach. So this is another beautiful shloka about 26. But if you see, even Arjuna's questions also are nice because question number 20 is there in the shloka where Arjuna asks about what happens. No, not 20, 21. 21 shloka is there. What are the signs? So let us, that shloka teaches us how to be aware of the lakshanas, maybe not in others, at least in ourselves. Shloka 22 to 26 tell us the entire lakshanas of what is the gunatita. Introduction to gunas is there in this chapter, but again, sir, it goes on in the 17th and also 18th chapter. Three chapters are quite dedicated to the gunas. Chapter 14, 17, and 18. Yes, if there are no queries, we can, for today, we can conclude our session and we'll probably look at the aspect of the Sharira in the next session. Yes, please. All right. Yes, please. Hari Om. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् हरि ओम तत्सत् कृष्णवन्दे जगद्गुरुन् हरि ओम नमस्ते
Hari Om,
पुनर्मिलामः
Hari Om.
नमस्ते
Hari
Thank
Om.
you very much.
हरि ओम
Hari
हरि ओम
Om. Shashwati.
हरि ओम
Hari
जी
Om.
नमस्कार सर नमस्कार हरि ओम
Hari
यस
Om.
मैडम थैंक यू माजी